Oh, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everybody around the world. Hello, hello. And we've just seen some news play out there in the 5-minute, 15-minute pre-market charts. Moderna coming in with longer shelf life for its vaccine, and obviously a whole bunch of other little bits of information coming out there. I guess there's more to be seen from this particular articles and news as the stream goes through. Always interesting to see how the market reacts to this type of stuff. We are seeing again a sell-off in Nasdaq, a bullish move in US 500, a bullish move in US 30 or Dow, bullish move on the dollar, just like last Monday in fact. It's these Mondays, isn't it, guys? The Mondays are brutal each way, and gold just took a big dive and then some buying pressure. Remember, with gold, there is a heavy support at just around this 1850 to 1860 zone. So no surprises it did buy there. Is the Moderna news as good as maybe the futures thought? Time will tell, probably not. But that is where we're going. Let's have a quick shout out to the room. So many people, as always, joining us here for the Monday session. We've got Shane, we've got Dave G, we've got Siddharth as always, Stuart, good to see you there, Valdo, Kitik, good to see you as well, Gareth, always good to have you in here, Johnny Bravo, Tim, Faye, Buzz, so many others. So welcome everybody. There's quite a lot to cover in today's session. Obviously, you've been trading the markets over the last week. You've been hopefully relatively bullish. We saw last week, though, Monday was a bit of a trap, wasn't it, from that vaccine information. Big pre-market. Never really got to those levels again. We had Dow. Remember, we had Dow Jones as high as 30,000. So we were hitting 30,000 last week, and we're hitting 30,000 again. Let's just quickly put that in perspective here. Let's go out to a 4-hour and just have a quick look here. 30,000 last week on the Monday, 30,000 this Monday as well. Very interesting point. What's with the Dow Jones, says Colin? Well, pretty much whenever we hear of information around vaccine that's positive, that means that, well, the idea of Wall Street is that basically we'll move out faster than Wall Street thought. That down pressures on a whole bunch of over leveraged, over geared, over extended tech stocks. And then we start to see a bit of buying into things like leisure, tourism, those types of ones. Don't be surprised to see all of those leisure sectors up fairly hard now as well. If we actually go over to the pre-market, let's have a look here. Zoom again, taking an absolute beating into this news. 4%. Zoom lost almost, $100 the other day in the pre-market. DocuSign also coming along. Are we starting to get down to points where DocuSign becomes an interesting kind of purchase as well? And Amazon, another one that always is negative during this news. All these tech stocks always get sold off. And then the ones that are going to be up, things like Boeing, doing very well here, 4% now. Certainly was not 4% before, guys. Was not 4% before. As always, during this stream, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We'll be going through all of the markets. We'll obviously go through some of the favorite stocks of the day. This news, as usual, with these live streams on a Monday, catches us a little off guard from what we were going to be talking about. I got here an alert. Moderna's vaccine found to be 94.5% effective in large test with few adverse side effects. So pretty big for, of course, that particular stock. Let's have a quick look at that stock now in the pre-market and just see what it's actually doing. Actually, I'll leave that one on. Go to the VIX. So Moderna Inc., mRNA, up 10.3% now, 98.68. This would put it at all-time highs. Yep, all-time highs here for this particular stock. 94 was the previous all-time high. It's been a bit of a sleeper since really May. Had that big bullish movement on it, sell-off, big bullish movement, sell-off. Just remember the way that this has been trading, and we'll just quickly load this Epic Pen up, is that when we have seen big bullish moves, it's had a tendency to run and then had a tendency to sell off after that. And what we remember with all of these types of drug stocks or pharmaceutical stocks or anything that you trade like this is it often trades off the news, and then of course people take the profit. Johnny Bravo says, need a nice 10% day in XLF and XLE, unload the rest of my calls before any dump. Well, Johnny, this is good news for XLE and of course for XLF. The financial sector and the energy sector is what Johnny's talking about. Let's have a quick look now at just what's going on in these futures sessions. I mean, this is always exciting Mondays at the moment. Let's refresh this beast right now. And this has all changed. This is a big change here in the last 15 minutes. Nasdaq now flat, S&P up. More than that, I think, actually. Dow up pretty large as well. Dow really being the one that's doing the best because Boeing's also coming along. Caterpillar will be doing well as well. Nikkei futures really on a bit of a tear here. For anyone that's been trading the ASX as well, you'd know today computer glitch. We'll call it computer glitch. Maybe something else, but they say it's a software problem. First time since 2016 that I can remember it being shut for that period of time. 2016 was the last time it really crashed like that. Gold here, silver, both taking a dive. Silver always moves more than gold as a raw percentage. So dollar 1.98% they're down on silver. Gold 1.18%. Crude really powering home here. So Johnny will be happy. Let's have a quick look around some of the questions coming in here. Matthew says ASX was exciting today. Certainly was there, Matthew. When you have your technical glitch, you have a great day. I always feel bad for day traders and people that, you know, if you were shorting and you wanted to cover your short here on a Monday, 23 minutes into trade, really only 3 minutes into full trade, and then all of a sudden the glitch closes it. Now we've got this Moderna news. All of a sudden ASX is probably running pretty hard. That's unfortunate. Lonnie says, how do you think EV will perform? Well, EV's kind of been really in that tech crowd at the moment. Not necessarily doing that well through this, but I think EV has a very, very bright future in it. I was hearing today that when you take energy and you think about batteries, I was talking to one of my mates, and he said that they're getting to a point now where really batteries and companies are going to start getting out of oil completely and moving into batteries and moving into solar with those batteries as a way of producing really, really solid kind of energy. All sorts of things are becoming just efficient enough. Notice JD also had a pretty good result as well. We're taking a look at that. Shane says, Tom, how do you hedge against currency exchange in the US stocks? I believe odd is going to own US dollar moving forward. But yeah, Shane, look, you can do it a few different ways. There's actually hedged ETFs now on the ASX exchange as well, like HNDQ, which is the Nasdaq hedged. So you can do it that way, which is probably the most efficient way if you just want to target indices. And if you want to target specific stocks and sectors, you'll have to either really short or figure out a contract opposite. Like use just like a full short, maybe long date. A lot of people use options. It's not really a small person's game hedging off. So I generally use funds that hedge the areas I want to target. But there's quite a few of them now in exchange traded funds on the market, Shane. Definitely check those out. I've been a big proponent in getting some of those ready in Australia as well. I've been asking for it for a few years and it's starting to happen. Few questions here. What just happened with all of the things? Jose, what just happened was the Moderna news. Definitely check that out. If you ever want to find out news, now obviously the news was not as quick as you would want from these types of things. So if you're on FinViz and you click this, if it's maybe 6 to 10 minutes after the news, you'll get it here. Another free way to get news quickly, things like FOREX Factory, they had it actually at the exact point. So FOREX Factory had it perfect. It was released at the exact right time or very, very close to. You'll notice here if I refresh this, 17 minutes ago. So very quick off the block here from FOREX Factory news related sources. Now, if you have Bloomberg terminal, it's like that, but not everyone has $400. I mean, sorry, not $400, about $3,000 a month Australian. All right, we'll take a couple of requests here. We have some stuff coming in. You can probably hear that paper in the background, so I'm going to write a few of these ones down. We've got GP. I want to personally look at JD. Take a look at NEO. Seems to be a thing that quite a few people want to check out. We'll have a look at some others as well. Johnny Bravo says, I nibbled at some SPR puts after 10% Friday part supply for Boeing. Wasn't expecting another. Yeah, that's good, Johnny. Well, in terms of the Boeing news, it should be pretty good. Shane, $50 Australian. Shane, Jesus. You didn't have to give me that much, man. Thanks, Tom Legend, he says. Man, Shane, that's way too much, but I appreciate that. I would, just to answer your question a little bit more there about hedging, yeah, those hedged ETFs are good, and they're the best ones. But you can also even, I think you can even get an ETF that's literally odd versus US dollar and just use that as well. Because they do it on a large scale. It's like if you've ever used Gear or GGUS, or in America, they have a whole bunch of like 2 times Gear or 4 times Gear or 5 times Gear indices trades and VIX trades. Those specific ones, often if you find out, and sometimes you can even call up the provider, I don't know if they like you doing that, you can actually find out behind it what their cost of the loan is. So to put it in perspective, years ago when we were at about 3% or 3.5% for Australian home loans, there was actually gearing inside of some of these exchange traded funds at 2.4% cost. You just can't get that yourself. mRNA, Eduardo says. Yeah, we know, man. We know. It's moving pretty hard. So here it is. We'll put it up. We'll have that one as probably on the checker for today. 10.59%. You'd almost think this was well-kept news when there's selling off here last week. 13th of November, sells all day, yet had that big result in the bag there. Is that efficient market? So the Dow hit the 30,000. We would expect selling here probably, unless this news is just so amazing and the market thought it was so great. I wouldn't be surprised to have another one. I was thinking it beforehand. Maybe we have another retake of last Monday. Let's actually load up the Dow here in terms of futures and just quickly talk about last Monday, because things seem to repeat in the markets right now in terms of taking advantage of these hype train events. So the way I look at this is if I was trading a normal market any normal time, I actually really love this setup. I really love a profound kind of double bottom inside of the trend. A lot of people don't use this enough. The best thing to do is actually, if you get a pullback like this, if you get a double bottom like that inside of the trend, this, that's a good trade. That is the tick. I'll give a big tick like that. That's how good that type of trade is. And the reason why is because it's in the direction of trend, and really it's a double bottom to end the pullback and to start the new direction of trend after it's reset all the indicators, after it's done all the normal type of stuff. So that's a very, very, very nice kind of setup. Now, this didn't come back, or when it did come back, it got a little bit too high and then came back again. I would have preferred that it didn't go that high. It did something like this. And that's just because then it becomes a much easier trade for us to take. But 30,000 is now reached here on the Dow Jones. Last time it reached that and it actually sold off. Remember, we are almost the exact same time as we hit 30,000 last week. If we went in there and had a look at the timers, you'll find that about 2.5 hours out from the market open, that's where we were. Will it be another buy the rumor, sell the fact kind of event, but all in the futures? Matthew Tainch says, hey Tom, nice to see you. Odd $5, by the way. Thank you very much, Matthew. Do you think that in general, the general indices have retraced enough to warrant new all-time highs slash Feb highs. So are you talking about, just post this in the chat here, Matthew. Are you talking about general indices as in everything but the American market? So you're talking about the FTSE, you're talking about the DAX, you're talking about the ASX, or you're talking about the American market? So I think the ASX deserves to be somewhere where it is. And for anyone that's joining us, and I guess we always usually talk about the ASX a little bit before we get stuck into the American market because, of course, Australia, it's 11:20 p.m. on a weeknight here. The reason why this market deserves to be higher is a mixture of things. It's the way that we've dealt with, of course, this current crisis situation. It's mostly, though, the federal budget and stimulus that's going to come through. And of course, I personally feel relatively positive about that agreement we signed. So for anyone that doesn't know, Australia signed this agreement with like 14, I think, other nations around Asia, which is basically a trade pact that kind of locks us into doing some deal with China as well, which is important because at the moment, we're not on the best terms with China. We do need them. We're about 30% reliant on them. And when they ban things like crayfish the other day and they ban all these little things, it's really setting up to a ban on iron ore once they build enough stockpiles of that. And we do not want that. Not at this stage, for sure. So I'm relatively positive on the Australian market, mostly because of the way we dealt with the situation, the huge amounts of stimulus. And if you have a look at the breakdown of the sectors, the government's really targeted a whole bunch of industries. They've targeted the financials, helped them out. They've targeted real estate, helped it out huge. And look, watch that Victorian budget come in. It's going to be even more infrastructure, even more building. It's all about supporting many companies that are in the ASX. We all made history, 30,000, says Buzzbloods. Absolutely we did. For people that think, well, where's this ASX going next? I still think we could be in for a pullback in the broader markets. But look, I would always have a longer term 6,200 here present for the ASX. Why would I have this? Because we know that markets get really, really excited and then eventually they pull back. And if we have these kind of landmine alerts in, then what we know is that these zones, we can target those zones in the future and that these are going to be high quality zones. Remember, this zone here is a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. That is 4 resistance touches, which should act as support. So always have that line in here. But for now, where could this market go? Does it deserve to be above 7,200? Probably not. But it does deserve to be getting back into the 65 to 68 zone. And I could certainly see a year-end 6,800 Christmas rush. Which brings me into my next point. Christmas rushes, Thanksgiving rushes. We're about, week and a half away now from Thanksgiving in America. Thanksgiving historically has been an amazing purchase in the stock markets. Look at this. 50 years of data. Buy 2 days before, then sell at the year end. Generally a very positive strategy. Buy 1 day before and sell at the year end. Notice that slightly worse kind of bit here. And then you'll also notice that Christmas has got a really weird stat on it here. So what I found is that Thanksgiving week generally has been positive. Now, it's not so much necessarily the week before that's been positive. We've got this vaccine information, that's important, but really always think about these holidays and the way they play out. I think Thanksgiving is an enigma this year. And the reason I think this is, this to me is stimulus related. You know, we need the stim pack to make Thanksgiving and Christmas really special in the US. And if we don't get the stim pack, will Thanksgiving be positive? Well, generally, yes. But the market might be having like an early morning kind of Thanksgiving. I'm kind of negative towards the Thanksgiving session next week. Here we go. We've got some big sell-offs now coming through here on the Nasdaq. I'm actually very bullish Nasdaq. So I'm happy for it to continue coming down to good zones. S&P basically taking off now everything. It's almost taken off all that Moderna news. Look how quick this is. This is why I say the futures is fake market. You want to talk about fake news? You want to talk about fake news? Fake futures markets. Never trade off the futures markets like it's really Wall Street telling us what to do. Remember, the close is everything in the markets. The close is the key. And that just reminds me to just say here again and again and again and again, when we bring on our Koifin, which if you're not on Koifin and you're a member of the FX Evolution community, get on that. I don't even know who owns this program, but it is free and it's pretty cool. So you can go to US sectors here. We can go to the 1 month. We can go to all the different areas. And we just need to really look here. Wall Street's starting to get smart. Notice here, 1 month data. XLY now, second weakest indice. XLK, weakest indice. This is 1 month data of all the sectors. Energy becoming pretty popular. But if we go to maybe year to date, look at this. We've got XLY, XLK. Now, Siddharth said before, don't talk about that rotation. But Siddharth, there is rotation. When you have an outperforming area, it deserves to have a bit of a cool off. And that's why you often see a pickup in the value town. Now, what this is really showing us, these two pickups here, do not be surprised to see XLF and XLE continue to be the best performers for the next 3 months to maybe 6 months, and then after that they become crappy again. They're actually going to be crappy again, and the reason why is because after that then you go into the bulk of what's really going to go well. XLF and XLE are just incredibly oversold, that's all. But these will only have a few months in them, and then they'll go back to being stagnant and not necessarily the best investments, most likely. XLY, though, needs that stim pack. I really firmly believe that one. So let's go over to the room here, see what everybody else is saying. Quite a few other questions coming in here. I'll see if Matthew said. American market, Russell 2000 in particular, he said. So he was talking about, do I think that they've retraced enough yet? Oh, okay. So you're saying basically have these little retracements that happened over the last week been enough? Well, I'm still bullish on all-time highs over the next 12 months, Matthew. So I guess, yes, they've done enough if these vaccines can be ready even faster. But I don't think that, you're going to have... we just cannot vaccinate enough people in time. So this is still a 6 to 12 month problem. And Wall Street will figure that out once it traps everybody. And the reason it traps everybody is because the put-call ratios are still incredibly high. There's a huge amount of puts being purchased in the market right now. And I think that's basically the mass media saying, that you read the media. When the media goes super positive, the market will crash. Or at least have a pullback. Right now, the media is mostly negative. So I don't think it's enough of a pullback. I think we might get an all-time high, but it doesn't mean it's going to be sustained. JJW, love the pop. Glad I went all in on the dip. Great work there, JJ. Let's hope you can get out here. JJW says market usually 6 to 12 months ahead. Absolutely. Tommaso says, do you think gold will come back at least half of the loss? Yeah, I would say so. I think the gold definitely... Oh, you mean through this decline here today? Yeah, why not? Why couldn't it go back up here? 1892 went down to 1860, what, 2-ish, 63. Yeah, I mean, it probably already is pretty close to 50%. This is definitely an overreaction based on that news. We will have a look at the Nasdaq in just a few moments. Unexpected Visit says, where do we buy the Nasdaq dip? Well, we'll be looking at that very, very soon. Geong, yep, we're all over the Moderna stuff. Would you buy in gold now? Well, I think gold is obviously a hedge against a whole bunch of other problems in the world as well, where people just don't believe necessarily in the US dollar and fiat, as they call it. That's why we're seeing such a big move on Bitcoin in general. It's been a massive, massive kind of move there over the last couple of weeks. Few people mentioning that the VIX has moved up as well off that news. Well, that'll be interesting. We'll definitely take a look at the VIX very, very soon. Let's have a quick talk about Bitcoin just quickly here. So Bitcoin continues its steady rise up. This was a pretty good little buy zone for day traders, and I'll explain why right now. So this was a great little area, and it's pretty much one of my old favorites. I'm going to let the chat answer this. Why does everyone think that I love the conservative pullback purchase here for Bitcoin? So we're talking about this black line I've just put up here, the black resistance support. Can anyone say the three magic letters or numbers, the reason why I like that so much? We'll see. I know there's a bit of a delay here on the stream, so I'm going to let people answer this one. I want to see if everyone's been thinking about this, because it's one of the setups you see quite regularly. And if you can get hold of something like this, then it usually will give you really good, successful kind of entries. George A says, what's the news today? Moderna, pretty much, George A. That's the main one. Johnny says fib. Not quite fib, but fib will be there, Johnny. No, the reason why I like this so much is the 1, 2, 3. So we've got the first touch of resistance. That's the 1. We've got the second touch of resistance. That's the 2. We've got a third touch of resistance. Remember, body closes are the key here. And then it pulls back a little bit and then busts it off high. Now, the reason I like it is more than 1, 2, 3. Multiple resistance points. There's actually an ascending here as well. But I like it just because of the 1, 2, 3. He says, Johnny says third time's the charge. Yeah, a few people are saying 3 times. Yep. So the 3 touches are the key. And it's just that reoccurring event that becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. Remember, somebody might come and say to you, oh, well, where do you think the Dow's going today? You won't always know. But sometimes you'll be given a highly statistical opportunity. And when you're giving a highly statistical opportunity, that's when you can trade it. That's when you can target certain key areas. And you can say, okay, when it gets here, it's got maybe a 70% plus kind of opportunity to get back to here. How do I make as much money as possible without taking that much risk to get it there? One of the ways that I don't mention that often is potentially like a spread. You could take a spread. Now, I'm not necessarily on Bitcoin so much, but you could take a spread up here to target this zone. Now, where's everyone looking on the options? If you understand options, most people are usually looking around price, and that's where you actually pay the most premium, or you get the most premium if you sell it. But if you're looking at targeting a zone further away, you can actually target just a very little thin slither on that. And you'll know that, yes, okay, if I bought it here and I set an expiry for it going up to this zone, it would take a certain period of time. And I would maybe make 1 to 1. But if you target the little slither, you might be able to make 5 to 1. 6 to 1. I don't know. A lot higher. Because you're targeting the slither off a 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3s usually have things like fib pullbacks. They've usually got moving averages. What would have made this even better is that this 50 exponential moving average was hitting it at the same time, because we'd already seen the 50 act as multiple levels of support. Remember, is a moving average good enough by itself? Not really, but it can be good enough in a big bull run, especially bull runs. But if you get it with price action role reversal, oh yeah, that's good. Anyway, that's me having a rant, but that's because I do love it. Shane says, I understand, we'll call it Bitcoin, but seriously, holding it makes no sense. Eventually, all countries will go to digital currency. So that's actually been one of my big things. Don't hate me out there, Bitcoin lovers. But yes, it has been one of my big things I've talked about. So look, every government wants cryptocurrency. They want it bad. They want it so bad. And why? Because they can control us with it. Of course they can. They can, basically it's the perfect taxation nightmare for us. They can track every single transaction. They can see exactly where everything goes. It, fixes so many of their problems. And on top of that, it makes everything so much more efficient. So yes, every currency will go digital. And I am a huge believer that's what's already happening. I said it from the start. And that will, in essence, decline some of the cryptocurrencies. Because all the great things about cryptocurrencies will be implemented into each country's ones. But don't get me wrong. When countries decide to move ahead, they will ban coins. They will just be like, done. It is done. And unfortunately, there will always be a market for it, but it could definitely hurt it. They will ban them. I do believe they'll do that. Always open for a discussion about that, though. That's just me ranting. And it won't be that fast, but it is perfect tax reform. So a few people coming in here with a whole bunch of other questions and answers there about that 1, 2, 3. One of them was 61.8 fib, of course. Lightning bolt resistance. Aaron Tanya, I do like lightning bolts as well. Good work, Aaron. That's another thing that I do like. But the 1, 2, 3 there is one of the biggest things. So let's just quickly go back over those markets. We've got Dow still hitting around. Where's Dow? 29,987 right now. These are all smaller time frames. 5 minutes here on the S&P. It's 36.25. Still holding a pretty nice little level. And the US 100, 11,905. So down negative 0.4. So let's have a look at the US 100 first. Then we'll go through the other pairs. Where do I think Bitcoin goes? Well, I guess, from here, I still think Bitcoin could get 217K just underneath and then sell off. But remember, Bitcoin has this affinity with 500s and 1000s. Look at this. It's traded by the giant whale Bitcoin traders, and they take advantage of noobs. That's the only way I can say it. They take advantage of noobs. Look, just before, my line's on 16.5, but I think the real price is just underneath, like 16.497. So the noobs don't take profit at 16.49 where I would, or 4.8 probably is what I would do. So 16.48 might be my target, something around there. They leave it at 16.5. And of course, they don't get their price and it sells off and then they close their order. Always remember, understand the instrument, then we can understand how it's manipulated. And then once we understand how it's manipulated, we can become better at trading it. So the Bitcoin is the 500s and the 1000s. Let's go to the US 100 now. And thank you very much for all the subscriptions coming through. We actually achieved, 25,000 last week. 25,000 people. I did not think we would get there, but we did. And we're already at 25,718 right now. So that's thanks to you, the trading community, supporting us. And I really do appreciate that. I remember getting like 60 views on videos earlier this year. 60 views. And now we're getting, 488 live right now. And that can go up to, 7 to 100 to 1,000. I think we had 1,200 last week. It's pretty nuts. So here's the US 100 here. It's pulling back a little bit. Now, what's been holding this up? Let's go to the daily first. Actually, we'll do the full top down. Let's go to the monthly. So we'll use here the US 100 futures. But most people will know I would prefer probably not to be using the live market when I'm doing my monthly top down analysis. So the body closes have all really been around the same levels. Notice we've got body closes up here at the 12,100, so really around that 12,000. And then we've basically become trapped here at the 10.9 as well, or that 11,000 area. So what I would be saying is, let's just say it's an easy 1,000 trap. If we go with a 1,000 trap, if it moves up and out, where is the Nasdaq's logical kind of conclusion going to be? Now remember, Nasdaq has never had more of us, the retail trader, trading it. About 20-something% is us. buying on our Robin Hoods, on our Weebles. Weebles pretty cool. Check the discount. What is it? Some link down below or something that gives you free stock or something. Check that out if you want. But we basically are all trading it. So if we're trading this index, we usually see it move towards and gravitate to those thousands. Just like before, hits 9,000. Yes, there's wicks out and all of those types of things, but generally the bodies have been around that 9,000. Hits the 10,000. There was some resistance there, but not that much. 11, 12, just above 12, but the body closes come back down. So I like kind of a 13,000 angle here. If it gets above any of these on a body close here in the monthly, and say it's like even here, 12,300, 12,400, it's going to target that 13. Valerie Tarodi coming in. Welcome to the trading community. Thank you very much for joining the trading community. Appreciate that, Valerie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you're enjoying the stream tonight. Or today, depending on where you are. So yeah, monthly, very important candles, always good to look at. I would always recommend you look at like a actual Nasdaq kind of chart. So that might be like NDX. If we're using NDX, we're using real closes, and that will make it a little bit simpler for you to do proper bullish analysis or bearish analysis on these kind of candles. So we go down to the weekly, again, being held within those zones there on the weekly as much as possible. I would still treat this relatively as a channel and therefore extrapolate that out, which will go slightly above 13,000. I think that's pretty fair. Big weekly here. We still haven't even pulled back that much off these peaks. So to put it in perspective, what have we been hitting throughout this? Well, there's no real moving average that we've respected throughout this bull run. The bull run was so aggressive, it didn't even get back to the weekly 20 here. Then it hit the weekly 20, found support, which was really, really nice around the same level. We talked about this on the channel in our videos. And then, of course, we did see that big after US election bull run there. Go into the daily. Has it been kind of hitting any particular moving average? Well, maybe we could say the 20, but I think the best level here was at 11.6. Previous resistances across the board. This was a beautiful level. 11.6 was, ooh, it was really nice. That's still a very key level in the market. I would have that on my charts at all times and see if it comes back down, how the market interacts with that zone. Do we see smaller time frame, lightning bolt? Could be a buy opportunity for sure. Do we see smaller time frame, double bottom? Definitely could be a buy opportunity. Bullish hammer, engulfing candles. All of these types of things, very, very strong when it comes to that level. Go to even the smaller time frames because we haven't seen enough yet. What else has been happening? Well, we haven't actually had a body close under this 4-hour 20. We've got wicks, but no real body close underneath. Will this be the first body close underneath that zone? Does that mean anything? Doesn't mean a huge amount to me because of the way it's trading. But I do think that this is still a significant thing where we can say, okay, well, maybe that is a bearish signal. Closes under there, bearish signal onto potentially maybe the next area. Is there anything holding the 11.8? A little bit of bullish wicks. Under the 11.8, 11.6 seems very probable. So I would be having a few alerts. I'd have an alert just above 11.8. I'd have an alert above 12. And I'd have an alert at 11.6. And then I'd trade them accordingly. I am licensed, yeah, Shane. But I haven't done a conglomeration, if that's what you're asking. They're actually paying in Australia right now. Zoom gap down heavily. Yes, it did, Sadar. Let's have a look around the pre-market here again. We're going 20 billion plus because that's usually what I'm most interested in. For anyone out there, you know that I usually don't trade the penny stocks, but I was actually talking to someone today and I said to them, you know, we're talking about penny stocks actually, and it was interesting because I think they were in miners. And I said, you know, for me, it's all been about the medical. So if you're in like pharmaceuticals, they're usually the penny stocks of choice, ones that are getting approval. If you want to get in the fundamental side of things, specifically around approvals, you can go and get into that world. But it certainly is a gamble. You always want to buy it into the rumor, buy it into the approval. If they get the approval, boom, you get that massive 150% spike, sell it off, bail, run away to the next one. That's pretty much how it is. It's a rinse and repeat, and just hope you get more right than not. So here we've got 6.58% down here on Zoom, 377. This has definitely been a boom to, not bust, but certainly big sell-off. We'll have a look at Zoom and see whether it can crater into any particular area. DocuSign also coming off relatively hard here, down at a 205. All of these stocks, all these tech stocks that have been the flavor of the last couple of months, really coming down. Whereas the Boeing, Honeywell, haven't seen that one up there for a while. Caterpillar, as we said before, my favorite, good old Disney. Got to get above 140. Disney has to hold that area. All of these ones doing much better. And for some reason, McDonald's just loves it. No matter, McDonald's just loves it. It can be down, it can be up. McDonald's goes up. Shane says all the vaccine news is, we'll go with fake news here. How do you vaccinate the world and when? Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult to do so. It's good news, but yeah. Funny how that Dow 35, yes, we did have a Dow 3500 FOMO Xmas guy last week. I actually don't think he could be, he may not be wrong there either, Siddharth. But yeah, the one thing he was loving it. Oh, he was calling it every single second about how the Dow was going up to 35,000. But he's not here right now, but he may be. Mark says the ASX crashed today. It certainly did. So right now we're coming into the futures. We're coming into a market open in only an hour and 45 minutes. And we're at the point of resistance. We'll talk about dollar index, I think, next. And then we'll go into the metals. And then we'll go into the pre-market stocks that just all took a hiding each way. So we'll start with dollar index. We'll go here to the weekly, just to put in perspective again, that if we get under 92, whoo, this level is good. This is going to be a gap fill. Now, if you miss a gap fill, so let's say it goes through, closes, and it's here. And you think, I missed my opportunity. Or I have to wait for it to pull back to this conservative line. That's fine, and that's a good point. You waiting for it is good. Being conservative is good. But another way you can do it is you know that it's highly likely that it targets this next zone. So why not go down to the smaller time frames and look for pullbacks such as to a moving average. We get one pullback, could be an hour chart. One pullback is good. See it again. Two pullbacks is good and it respects it. What about the third one? Opportunity. It becomes highly statistically likely that it is going to work again and again and again once you see it play out. The importance is once you see it play out, not before that point. So yeah, if you're ever wondering, I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get in, that can be an opportunity to trade down to the next range because you've done your big analysis, you know. So anyway, weekly was negative, then slightly bullish off the 92 zone. Go into the daily here. We had a, relative amount of bullish candles, hit the 20, found some resistance, came down. Now it was looking bearish a couple of hours ago. What I would have liked to see for dollar, I would have liked to have seen this zone here made a new high. We've had a huge amount of resistance get broken. It came down. We know it's a key area because look, it bought off that key area straight away. Then it bought off it again, and then it failed. If you ever wonder, oh, how do I get out of a trade like this? Or where do I have to take the stop loss? Well, there is one way under here, but also a body close under all your wick rejections is a very negative sign on a significant time frame. Basically, this is it. It's over. The dream is over at that point. Now, if the market had gone up, broken past this 93 again and closed, it was going to snap. It would have snapped these highs as well. Because what that would have been is a little double bottom on the smaller time frames in the direction of the trend. Very, very strong, good buying opportunity. Problem with the markets right now, and I hope we get past this, is they've just been so fundamentally driven. So fundamentally driven. And that makes it really difficult for us as traders. Like, how do you trade random vaccine news coming out 2.5 hours before a market open? It's really difficult. You might know they're going to do the announcement, but in the end, you're really gambling that kind of thing. And the idea, I think, to be in this long term is to take highly statistical chances. And you'll notice even some of the guys on YouTube, people have been moving to talking about Bitcoin recently. And that's because it's easier for them to predict, to a degree, Bitcoin's move. Well, firstly, just buy and hold, yeah? Strong hands, and that's all you do. But it's been easier to trade Bitcoin in the last couple of weeks than the markets. The markets have been crazy. Up, down, all around. You know, all sorts of traps, all sorts of madness. Bitcoin's been pretty steady throughout all of that. Gold's been crazy as well. The old favorite Tesla hasn't been doing too well. Look at this Tesla. 406, back to previous kind of buy zone territory. Go to the daily here. It's starting to look pretty weak as well. You know, the flavor of the month is not in Tesla right now. Yeah, a new low, it gets underneath this trade, close the body. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it back down to the 340. You know, I think you get a big trigger off this point. Underneath that close, you're going to start to see almost a 2050 cross. Haven't had a 2050 cross since April, May here. It was an overextended stock. But no one's talking about Tesla. I don't see people coming to the room anymore. They're not saying let's check out Tesla. They're still saying let's check out NIO, but not Tesla. Meowdy says, random vaccine news making spikes is not truly fundamental, but does make it hard, yeah, Meowdy. But it does make it hard. It's still a piece of fundamental news. It's not the same as, of course, you know, doing your proper fundamentals on a company or your fundamentals on the economy, but it is random spikes. All right, we'll load up NIO. Too many people are mentioning NIO. I know we have to talk about NIO. So, blow off. Is this blow off phase? All right, so NIO shot through way higher than we thought it could. Where were we? We were about here, I think, when the bigger news came out, and it just continued to go bullish. Let's have a look at it on a weekly, just to put in perspective how vertical this thing is. Go to a monthly. Yeah, this is looking very blow off. And it will trade probably like any good blow off does. They've all been trading pretty similar. So let's just quickly go through a blow off lesson. What do we have here? 54 down to 40. You can tell I don't follow this stock at all, but that's okay because this stock will most likely now have the blow off kind of event that most of these stocks have had this year. Now, what generally happens is whenever a stock drops about 20% in a few days, 20 to 25%, after a big giant bullish run, it goes into what we call the blow off. And the blow off is really the trap that we saw on gold as well, where the market will pull down. It'll pull down to a key area. It'll be bought heavily. Now, it'll be bought heavily because everyone loves it. It's still popular. Everyone loves this stock. It's all good. It's all green. It's, you know, totally worth $55, whatever. There's no fundamentals here. Doesn't matter. And it will pull back to generally some kind of 61.8 to 78.6 level. Somewhere in this zone is usually where you see the blow off get to. And then people will go, near enough's good enough, profit time, and it will come down, it'll test the same support, find buyers, and then each time kind of, you know, usually peter out a little bit. And let's have a look at some examples of that. So I would say this is pretty clearly in blow off. I believe it is. Bloodbath says I bought it at 350 and sold it at 8. Ooh. That sucks, man. But that's all right. We've all done that. Don't worry. There's always another opportunity. There's always another opportunity. So here's Neo, and that's what we probably expect it to do. Let's have a look at some other examples recently in this year's market that have actually done the same thing. So we'll go here to a weekly on gold. So this was classic case of a blow-off. Big bullish aggressive market followed by a big sell-off. Just quickly go in there. Have a quick look at a fib retracement. Notice the fib comes back into the 61.8, 78.6 zone after selling off. Bullish purchasing comes down, tests the same low, bullish purchasing, tests the same low, bullish purchasing, blah, 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 continues on. So that's usually what we see in the blow off. And it seems to be playing out almost pretty beautifully. It even happened in, what was that? I always forget the stock. The other car, the one with the scammers. Someone tell me the scammer stock. Or maybe it's not. I might be outspoken there. Don't sue me, guys. That's a good stock. Good stock. The one with the CEO that kind of like ran away. Nikola. That's it. Thank you very much. All right. So Nikola had the ultimate blow off. Unfortunately, this one was a lot more brutal. So didn't quite play out the way that you would usually expect it. Didn't get back far enough. And that's because it had scandals on it. Big, bullish, aggressive move. Again, easiest way to play these types of things generally is fib pullback. And it didn't quite get to even the 61.8. Now, this stock had other weird things going on in it. It was overextended, but then on top of that, it was compounded by questions about whether the company's any good. Now, I've heard that Neo's pretty good. Neo's got some real fundamental backing to it. This company, less so, and that's why, you know, it's trading quite a lot lower. But I do know that these guys went through a whole bunch of tough stuff, and were accused of those types of, you know, potential problems. So this particular one, yeah, it didn't really recover well, and now it's in accumulation. So let's say, you know, it was going to make a big comeback and things were actually looking pretty good for it. What level would you be looking at after a blow off? Well, generally they do get down to these types of things where they start trading in ranges. And when they trade in ranges, you don't really want to be in any of this. But what you do want to be in is you want to recognize this key zone. So 27, let's say in this case. And that would be a break of this zone will trigger huge amounts of purchasing. And that's when everyone gets involved. The retail participants get involved. The hype, it's back and it goes up. So I like to focus on these kind of zones. It's kind of like Intel. It's like any of those other things. When they're beaten down, that's fine. But then you target. You don't want to have your money sitting here because it could do this for too long. And it can also fail, but it can do this for way too long. You don't want to be stuck in stocks for 6 months or 12 months or 1 year or 2 years. And that's what does happen when you buy the dip here. You're better off waiting for it to accumulate, break the key resistance, and become hot again. Buzzblad says Nikola was a classic pump and dump. Absolutely, Buzz. It didn't even have the classic blow-off, though, on it. The blow-off was not that great. So let's go back to the markets here. Have we seen any other futures movement? So we're still at the Dow sitting around just under 30,000. We've got the dollar index continuing some strength. Gold recovered after its initial kind of dip there a little bit. And Nasdaq is finding some purchasing. All right, let's go back over to stocks. We'll go to Zoom now. Talk about whether Zoom is in a blow-off that it can actually get back from. So here we go, weekly Zoom. Pre-market here, 380. So 380 got down to 367. Okay. Pretty big sell-offs here in Zoom. Incredible move up. Wow, that's crazy. I still can't believe this stock sometimes. So hit the 20, I think that's pretty important. The 20 is sitting at 387. We're trading at 380 pre-market, not opened. Is that an overreaction? Possibly. If we believe this is a blow-off event and there's a lot of buying pressure potentially in Zoom, and I'm not sure about that because I think a lot of Wall Street own this one, not just the retail herd, the retail blow-off community, then we would expect it to actually pull back between the 500 and the 550 after this move to the bullish side. I don't know if we'd be holding it for the highs though. Way I'd look at this, I would be looking for smaller time frame lightning bolts. I'd be looking for moving averages kind of being touched once or twice and then get involved in them, potentially trade it into the range that we expect and then get rid of it. That kind of thing. A few people asking about Barber. Yeah, we'll be taking a look at Barber. No worries, Kevin. We'll do that one. Thank you very much for being part of the trading community as well, Kevin. And of course, also Sean, it's good that you're interested in Barber as well. So Barber moving pretty well recently, and then it came down quite a lot after that stuff with China came out and the Ant Group moved down here to 261. So where we expected buying support to come back in. Now there is buying support around this area. Previous resistances were all at, what was this, about 265, 260. So right where it is should find some buying pressure. Let's have a look at the larger time frames first though. Go to the monthly. So monthly incredibly far away from the 20. It's going to suffer a very similar fate though to all other financial companies in terms, consumer discretionary companies like Amazon and stuff right now. I mean, I prefer this stock down here. I prefer it at its previous peaks. We all prefer it down here if you wanted to buy in, of course. But I do actually prefer it in this range. I'd be always drawing this range up and leaving it on my charts and going, yes, I like this range and I would quite like to have a nibble at that area. If you think it's going to stop here though, this is the zone it needs to stop at. It needs to stop right here, and if it gets through here to the nibble range it goes. It will continue to fall down. Look how critical this point is. 2050 about to cross to the downside. This is the daily time frame. Pre-market 260. Previous little resistances and supports all the way around this zone. It has to hold here. Do we want to buy the dip? If you believe in the company, you're going to long hold it. Yeah, you probably could. I mean, it's still a pretty decent discount to where it was. But I'd be looking at multiples, looking at growth trajectory. I'd be paying a lot of attention. Having a look at what the monkeys think. We want to know what the monkeys think. Koifin, pretty good to have a look at here if you want to check these things out. So we'll go to Barber Holdings, consensus estimates, see if it loads today for us. Come on, work for us today, guys. Why is it every time I want to show it off to you guys and say it's good, it does this to us? Anyway, I'm sure their estimates are a little bit higher than where it is currently, but a lot of them won't be updated. We've got here Edson Jerez, $2. He says, hey you. Thank you very much, Edson. Appreciate that. Sending out the super chat sticker. Thank you. Got 654 people joining us for this Monday, and we're still an hour and a half away from market open as well. So thank you very much to each and every one of you out there. Smash that like button as well if you do enjoy the stream. It does help us out and getting more viewers and obviously helping support, I guess, what I do here. So 260 I quite like. I actually don't mind this, but I don't know. I feel like consumer discretionary without stimulus, with what China's doing as well, and even this price action with the 2050 could get it down even further. Regardless of what the market's doing broadly. It's a good first zone. Probably draw a fib of the move as well. Have a look at the weekly. Yeah, it's a pretty solid move. Probably put a fib on there. Target, 38,250 fib retracements usually is what you're doing. and just hit the 38.2. So in this zone, should find buying pressure. I still prefer down here, but this is the zone that makes the most amount of sense. Big bearish candle. Let's have a quick look at this euro US dollar. We don't often talk about currencies too much. So this vaccine news obviously taking a little bit of a bite into this. Rejection here on the 4 hour. It's pretty bullish on this today. It's why I don't trade Mondays in currency very often. I was bullish on this today. If you have a look here, you've got a bit of an inverse head and shoulders in the direction of trend. I'm still bullish on it. 20 moving average coming down to maybe find some buying pressure there and then continue its way up. Keep watching that throughout the session for sure. Now, I've been neglecting the room, so I've got to answer a couple of quick people's questions. Google has become a thing that people want to see. Wow, I couldn't get anyone to look at Google a few weeks ago. No one wanted to. We did Neo, didn't we? Yeah, we'll look at Google. I liked it a few weeks ago. It was awesome. Kevin Idilo says, Baba to the sky. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, if you believe in it, Kevin, it's definitely good little zones here. So well done. If you're kind of looking at it, I got no problem with the company moving forward. I think they're just massive. They just own. They do really, really well. I'm not sure whether JD is serious competition with it as well, though. You might want to consider. The fib never lies, says Siddharth Morley. We do love our 38.250 fibs there, Siddharth. Beyond, Asa says. I kind of want to look at beyond. I want to talk about moat. I want to talk about moats. Too many investors not considering moats. Retail investors. Moats are so important to investments. Kind of like if you look at Warren Buffett, the way that he invests. Now, everyone always goes, oh, okay, it's easy for us to, always say Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett. But the reason why it's so important is moat is a thing where if it's easy to get in and easy to compete, it's very hard for a company to do well for a long period of time. And if you like holding companies for a long period of time rather than trading them, I think moat's really important. The only company I can think of off my head right now that did just amazing in a sector that makes no sense is A2 Milk in Australia. They did amazing in what they did. They had the best marketing ever. They came up with a brand new protein for milk, marketed it. It's not even brand new. And they've done just an amazing job. And their moat's very low, really. But yeah, they got it done, and they're just beasts. Beyond obviously put all its eggs in the McDonald's basket. What did McDonald's do? McDonald's say, yeah, we kind of like the idea, but we make our own meat now, suckers. Or fake meat. That's the problem with Beyond. But right here is buying pressure. Resistance, buying pressure, support, buying. It's all over this area. 125 is clearly a zone. I had it on my chart before. I've done this a few times for the community. Look, does it make sense? Yeah, certainly does. Heaps of support. Even in a crazy sell-off, this is where you expect buying pressure to come back in. What are we trading at? 125.27 pre-market. I mean, it's just got to be the zone, doesn't it? I don't like that it's come down like this. I prefer this kind of trading action. This is a great trade. Oh, yeah. I love the accumulation here as well. Don't ever be scared of the accumulation, guys. If you pick up a pullback like this and you see this type of price action, get excited because it's going to explode. Also, bring your volume analysis on when you're doing this. See if you can get volume analysis, accumulation kind of showing on the charts. I love that buy zone. Wicks off the zone, 2050 cross. Amazing. It's probably an overreaction here, at least initially, for Beyond, but it's the exact area where you've just got so much body pressure each way. So I would expect buying pressure here for Beyond. Oh, Joe J says they would use Beyond Meat. I thought they said they were going to make their own meat. I thought they were, but it doesn't change my opinion on something like Beyond. I don't think that they've got like a product that's just so amazing that other people can't get in on it. But I like the zone. It's very cool. $77 US $4. Thanks for the coffee there, Sandola. Always appreciate it. I need it probably at 12:10 at night a.m. For anyone that was wondering as well, a few people asked me, where was your Sunday video? What the hell were you doing? I did go away on the weekend. So I went back to, for anyone that doesn't know, I live in Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. We were basically in martial law. We couldn't go anywhere. So I went and visited my parents. Obviously I had to do that. So no video on the weekend. That's why. Mick Plant. Sales were slower, Carl says. Yeah, look, I mean, the sales are going to be slower because there's so many people in this. I've got friends and colleagues that work in startups for this type of thing. Everyone's getting into it. There's so many options. And when there's so many options, you've got the brand name here. But yeah, it's going to be tough for them to compete over the longer term because there's going to be so much innovation in this area. These are just one of the first companies in. And what else do we know? They haven't been on the stock exchange that long, guys. You know I hate this. I hate companies that haven't been on the stock exchange so long. Doesn't change though, great zone. Technicals, it's a zone. All right, let's have a look at Alphabet. We'll go with the Google. We'll go with Class A. And we've got here an 1800 reach. So will that be the take profit? Well, the thing with Google is it's been in a pretty good little bit of a bullish run here, with the monthly 20 being probably the thing that I've looked at the most with buy zones. This was an anomaly, being the crisis. But other than that, I've just been kind of looking at the monthly 20 and just going, yes. Every time it's got to the monthly 20, yeah. So the 20 exponential moving average here. Now it's getting pretty far away from that. That's the first time it's run so hard. And I don't know if Google deserves to run this hard, this fast. It's been lagging the other ones. Actually, I had it up before. I was planning on going through it. Where are we? Here we go. So this is the 1 month performance. You can see the Google. And if you go to 1 year performance, you can see Google's now caught up. Google was super far behind. It was the one that I was arguing, a month ago, that probably deserved to be picking up. So it certainly has done so, and that's good to see. There's reasons for it. It can do a lot of things. They can innovate, they can spend money, they can invest. They are doing all these types of ones. From a tech perspective, in terms of technical analysis, well, it just hit 1800. It hit a psychological level. Do I think it can bust that level? I mean, sure. I wouldn't be surprised at all, though, to see it pull back first. Maybe to 1700. Hit a 20 at the same time. If you get like a daily 20 coming up, it hits 1700. Could be a good little buy zone for a trade. Nothing clear here for Google for me. If I was holding it, I'd probably just hold it still, which I do hold, but I don't know if I'd trade anything specifically. You'd have to be on the smaller time frames here. 4 hour, looking at that. That's a bullish sign, getting through a bearish wick candle here. Putting a bullish candle here is a bullish sign. It means that it does want to continue moving up. Probably wants to touch 1800 again. Find selling pressure. If it does find selling pressure, gets through 1720, you got a little double top. It'd just be more scenarios. I don't see a strong position either way. Anyone for Bitcoin, says Emily. Yeah, we had a look at Bitcoin before there. We're just talking about Bitcoin to 16.5, how it just stopped shy of that and then sold off. And if it hits 16.5 again, it probably just goes 17. Remember, $500 increments, just before the $500 increment is usually where you want to get in and out. A few people asking for DocuSign. I think that's fair. We'll have a look at DocuSign, then we'll have a look at Zoom. DocuSign, beautiful support around this 188 area. We've found this quite a few times now, this support. Support, support, support. You can see we have it drawn up from a little while ago. Support, support. We're trading at 200. Not quite down at the level of best support. But if it gets to best support, there's probably going to be buying pressure. That's at the 188 here for DocuSign. It's a very clean cut level. If it closes underneath this zone, that's not good. That is bad. Very bad. We don't want that if we're bulls, because you can see DocuSign had an amazing bullish move on it this year, and that can bode for very big selling here. We could go all the way down. I don't know if we go all the way down to 95, 80, but we could certainly go to like a 120 or at least a 160 straight away. So be very, very careful there if this level doesn't hold for DocuSign. But at this stage, 188, great levels. Nvidia earnings call this week should be interesting for the GPUs sold, says LiQWYD. So yeah, Nvidia has been an enigma stock, hasn't it? It's done incredibly well. It's got amazing branding. They've obviously, I haven't got my 3080. I'm a bit pissed at Nvidia. I ordered one and I was cheap, because you should always be a little bit cheap when you're an investor. So I bought the Australian EVGA. Any Australian out there that's looked at, they know where I got it from already, but I don't have it. I don't have my 3080. And that could be because they're just not building enough of them. Maybe they got supply chain problems, but Nvidia is very clean cut as well. Lots of buying pressure through the 480, trading 428 this week. If it misses, now it's not exactly going bullish into earnings, is it? This is a clear level of resistance up here. It's kind of sitting in the middle of nowhere land. So maybe it goes down to 480, but it's in the middle. It has no idea whether it's good or bad. Usually the market before an earnings announcement, it will gravitate towards a support or towards a resistance. It will never usually sit in the middle unless no one has any idea what's going on. And then when the announcement comes out, it will usually snap into the resistance or the support level. Yes, this will be losing momentum on many indicators. Can you look at AMD? Yeah, we'll definitely check AMD out. We've had a look at that quite a lot recently. AMD are kicking goals. Let's see if anyone guessed where I got my 3080 from. Can any Australians out there guess where I probably ordered my 3080 from? Kim says, can we look at the odd US dollar? Okay, we'll look at odd US dollar. I want to have a look back on some metals as well. Let's have a look at the odd US dollar. So odd US dollar, nice little bounce down to this 72 zone. Again, points of why you check weekly support resistance, 70, 70, 70, 70, 70. Buying pressure. A sell close under this is so significant. It changes everything. And these are the key critical moments that you don't always get in technical analysis. But when you get them and you see the close below, you know it's the start of something big. And that big move at least would have gone to 68. Now, it didn't do so and it bounced up. Obviously, a little double bottom here. That's completed now. Very important to note. Go down to probably a 2 hour here and have a look at the price action on the odd US dollar. So I think the odd US dollar, all it cares about is, of course, the American dollar. I'm noticing here 2 hour multiple rejection wicks. That's super important, because if it now body closes over here, it goes probably to an all high, not an all time high, but definitely a higher point than this resistance. Why is that? Because we've got rejection, rejection, rejection. That means that all the bears here have their stop losses around here. If you get a body close above that zone, what are many retail traders going to do? They're going to move their stop loss to above here. Then it moves up. They're going to move their stop loss to above here. They're going to move their stop loss to above here, blow their account. So because of that nature, remember the wicks, when it closes above the wicks, that's super bullish. Now, if it continues to reject, of course, and makes a new low over here, it becomes bearish for the shorter time frame. But we have the trend up currently. I'd be looking for a buy closes above here. I'd love to see another bearish wick here and then buy close above. That would be awesome. But if it gets under this zone after another bearish wick like this, you would probably expect further selling down to 72.50 and then possibly even down to the 72. Generally, the odd dollar has been trading in 50-cent increments and it's been pretty good at that for quite some time. A few people saying Boeing, it's connected to the SpaceX news. I think it's also connected to a degree to the Moderna news as well. Vaccine hopes are improving all those situations. Dollar index becoming the strong kind of play of the day here on our little checker chart. So we've got the 15-minute US 500, we've got 5-minute here S&P, and we've got the Dow still sitting around that 30,000. It doesn't care. It's like Caterpillar, Boeing, bring us to victory. And then down the bottom right-hand side here, 13.35% up, continuing its bullish hype in the futures trading sessions, getting all those sweet retail traders in to buy it up, thinking they're going to make 50% in one day, and probably won't. But yeah, Moderna trading at 101.24. LiQWYD says, I am just here to learn more. Well, that's good, man. Hopefully you are learning something. If you do learn something, definitely subscribe, and of course hit that like button as well. Boeing plus vaccine equals obviously happy face for you, I think. I do not know how to read your name, but I assume it could be, is that Russian? That's a wild guess. Dollar will continue to devalue. Yeah, Bloodbath, I agree. Dollar continues to devalue longer term, but shorter term will have bullish moves in it. Square started selling Bitcoins. Square, can we check Square? Yeah, we can have a look at Square. So we've got a few others here as well. We looked at Google. We've got AMD to check up next. Let's have a look at our good friends at AMD. So AMD remains really the 75 is super buy zone. Underneath the 75 opens up really pretty much a big sell off all the way down to the 60 zone. Previous resistances, I like this area. I have an alert set. It's no secret. I've been looking at that zone if it was to occur. If we have a look at the daily here, we're trading at what, 80 WAD pre-market. So right round the kind of moving averages. I don't think that's too significant. From the bullish side of things, we haven't really seen kind of any clear levels each way. It's got a 4 hour, see the price interaction. I don't know. I just kind of like the support line, and in the middle here, it just seems to be kind of not quite getting to the resistances. It got to this resistance over here, 86, 86, 87, got to 88, then it got to 86 again. So clearly there's a box range that you would be drawing. So you'd probably just go, okay, if I'm taking profit and I'm trading it, that's the kind of area I want to take profit in. If I'm buying it, set your box rectangle below. Now that we've got get rid of that. Now that we have a 200 moving average here in the 4 hour, might increase our box for buy zones. Possibly even increase it up to here, but I don't think so. Probably just around that 200. So AMD is really just for me, if I buy it here, I'm looking to sell it somewhere in this box range up here. And that's really it. I don't think it's, if it closed under here, I think there's going to be some extreme selling. If we take a look at Tesla, yep, sure, we can look at Tesla. We had a look at that before. We basically talked about the 400 zone. So it's now 410, up a little bit here. But 400's been relatively good buying here for Tesla. Bought off, it went underneath, but it bought off 400, bought a little bit off 400 here. Got a 2 hour chart. So not quite 400. And did buy off. Went underneath. Go to the 4 hour. As I said before, if it gets under the 380 this time, I expect it to go really far down. Get through this. I don't think this 200 means anything on the 4-hour. Go to the daily. Yeah, for me, if it closes below this kind of 388 and closes, I think it sells back down to the 330s, and there will be most likely buying support around here. Tesla's just out of popularity right now. For the bull side of things, you just really want it above 420, and when it gets above 420, do something like this. Closes above, comes down, tests 420 from the top down. Previous resistance becomes support. There is a bit of a line through there if you go to the right time frames, and then 440 and then 460. And of course, buying above 460 is our long-term real hype train coming back into the Tesla. And when that happens, 500, 520, very, very quickly. We know bullish intentions will be like psycho once it gets through this zone. 460 body closes, what we really need to see. Shane says Tesla lost momentum and retail. At this stage, it's certainly losing momentum with the traders as well. Tesla's mostly traded by retail community, so if it's not hyped right now, then it goes down. Didn't Elon get the virus? Yeah, I saw that. I think it's just mild though. Neo is the new Tesla. It certainly has been. Bloodbath, we usually don't look at those ones too much, but he said, how about Virgin Galactic? No secret on this channel, I do hate airplane companies and anything to do with that. Okay, Thomas says, what do you think about silver? And I guess you also will probably say gold. Well, let's have a look at those. It hasn't been fair. We haven't looked at silver recently. Let's have a look over at silver. So silver's definitely taking a dive because of the strong dollar. It's back at the point where you would hope there's some buying pressure. But silver, to me, has always been 50 cent and dollar increments. And I'm just looking at 50 cent and dollar increments. Do I like it at 24.23? Not really. Do I like it at 24 flat? Based on previous price action recently? Not really. Let's go to the daily. It's going to be a bearish engulfing if it closes down here. I don't know. I don't like either areas for it. I really don't. I like it long term. I like silver quite a lot long term. Well, medium short. Medium term is, when I say long term, like a couple of years. Not like 10 years. I don't care about then. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that there's any strong, clear directions here from silver. See how it's choppy? You don't really want to be involved in chop too much if you're trading. So for me, this is too tough. I don't see any clear path or direction or anything like that. I did see resistance at 25 because it makes sense. It's a clear zone. There was a little bit of resistance here. It got through though a little bit and then sold off. And then after that, it was the 25.50. Notice it stops right around there and sells off. And the 26 sells off. So anything in here is just noise. So we'll go with noise. And unfortunately, I can't give you much more than that. Otherwise, I'll just be like, what am I looking at exactly? Gold becomes a little bit easier. We'd like to see a buy pressure back up to the 1880. If it holds this area and gets back up to this 1888, that'd be actually quite bullish for gold. And then once it gets through the 1900, it becomes super bullish upwards to 1925. And then once it gets through there, it continues to go. We'll be through all the moving averages here on the 4 hour. So we're basically going up, getting past the 1900, coming back down, hitting 1925, 1950, and so on and so forth. For the bear side, really, we just need to see 1850 hold. 1850 purchase, 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 purchase again, question mark. And underneath there, whoa, critical zone. I'm excited for 1850 for gold. If 1850 break closes down, I think we're going to get some value town gold. 1800, 1750 become the next open areas on the big time frames. Look how important this zone is here for gold. Daily, so clear. Bearish, down to the 1800, going to hit the 200 simple moving average on the daily, and then market structure heavy around 1750. I really kind of want this price. I know a few people won't want it, but I don't mind this price. There won't be much TA on mRNA. And the reason why you won't get much TA on it is other than the fact it's at a 101 kind of buy and it's in height today. But as we said before, when you're in height, we said this at the start of the stream, how has this instrument reacted? It hasn't held height well. It's had height, when it's had extreme height gaps, it has not held them well. It's had the big bull spikes and gone crazy, but it hasn't necessarily held the big gap ups well. So just be careful on this one. Based on previous information, that's what we've seen. Not holding, and probably because retail traders are buying in hard on it. Square, yeah, we'll check that out. I remember we targeted this zone last time it pulled back. When was that? Early November. Hit the 200 exactly, well, just slightly above 201. Sold off. Go to the monthly here. I don't know. In the middle of nowhere here for me, for Square. Very, very tough either way. We've already hit that kind of 20 on the weekly and found the support the first time. You have to go to the smaller time frames and try to find, you're basically in a trading range, and this becomes harder when you're in a trading range that's so wide with so many gaps. We prefer it when it's in a trend because it becomes super easy. You know, here's a super easy trend to trade. 2 hours, every time it hits the 50 moving average, just buy it. When you start buying it, you get your 1, you get your 2, that's enough. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're going to get perfect price every time. 8 fails. So you've got multiple buying opportunities all the way through this run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th one fails. That's not a bad strike rate, just for using a moving average. But right now, Square's not really doing that. It's in the trading range. It's hit the areas of resistance support. So yeah, I can't help you much more than that. Taking a look at Intel, worthwhile taking a look at Intel always. So Intel's one that's been beaten down. We talked about how when a stock loses 20% in one day, it's usually pretty bearish and hard for them to come back. Tech stocks are usually the only ones that can get back. If you lose like 20% on an energy stock in a day, it usually does not come back. It's actually a really scary statistic around that as well. So Intel, we've done this for a few weeks now. We are on the buying area. We have been there now for quite some bit. I kind of like this zone that's happening. So we've seen buying pressure off this zone many, many times. If it gets underneath this buy area, ooh, that's not good for Intel buyers all the way. But I think it actually cleans all the way down to 38. Previous resistances back from 17. So if you're a bull on Intel, you need the whole zone to happen. Like AMD at 75, like that other stock we were looking at before, DocuSign, I think it was, at those levels. Very, very important zone here for Intel. Seems to be doing okay right now. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Talk about, you know, when the buyers are really going to come in and start, you know, going crazy on this stock. I think when it gets past here, when it gets past this 47, previous support, resistance, moving average crack at the same time. So that it'll be through the 50 and the 20. So it'll be through the 50 and the 20 on the 4 hour. Will be above the previous support and resistance zone. And that will be like a little double bottom. Now remember, what ends a downtrend? Double bottoms, inverse head and shoulders, these types of things. So if we've got a double bottom here, that will be very, very nice. And I'd be looking at buying it into at least 52. Probably makes sense. Well, I'll write an alert down for this one. Anyone else use pen and paper on the side to write down things? I bet you're not as old school as me on that one. I still put it in the book. I don't know what it is. Anyone that grew up in like probably the 80s and 90s and obviously before then will understand. I find if I put it down on paper, I always remember it better. It's like writing it out just helps me a little bit there. Pavel says, forever 14NM. Apple dropped them. Team Green potentially moving into CPU market. Yeah, I think, look, Intel have many problems fundamentally. But we're talking about trading, not fundamentally on this one. They need to turn it around. They've always turned it around, though. I remember Intel having like a really tough time during the mid-2000s when they had these really terrible CPUs. They sucked. And a few people saying they use a Post-it. I got a Post-it on my computer right now. Post-its are good. Siddharth says he faxes it to himself. That's pretty old, Siddharth. Even I I don't use the fax, man. The fax is bad. Fax is the worst tech. I still remember I once handed this thing in university and I faxed it in backwards so that I could have blank paper, and I was like, oh, what do you mean it went through badly? Got that extra precious couple of hours, yeah? Notepad, you caveman, says Joe. Well, I've got the notepad. It's like a little book. Adam A says, at FX Evolution, there are studies that show writing down helps memory because it's feedback mechanism via your eyes. Absolutely. It's like I'm always interested in psychology, and I think that comes to charts as well and trading in general. Psychology is kind of like, I'd argue, like 50% of trading, understanding basic human psychology from the perspective of things that we do it's time and time again, but also imagery. If you want to remember things, it's crazy. You can like remember stuff just from literally associating it with a walk. I used to do this for exams. I used to think, okay, I'm going to walk to the train, and I'd remember and I'd associate random stuff that I was meant to learn about law and random stuff I was meant to learn about whatever else. And I'd actually associate it with my walk towards the train. I'd be like, oh, I see the sign. The sign means this. It was crazy. And it worked so well. I don't know where I learned it, but it was really, really good. All right. Anyway, back to the markets. Enough psychology madness like that. So here we've got the US 100. We've got 11.9. Yeah. Gold coming back. Cool. Come on. Want to see gold. Let's get that in the 4 hour. I want to see that gold get back up and above 1888. Come on. Get back up there. We want to see it hold a body around this zone if we're gold bulls. Obviously, that means that dollar is coming back off a little bit, and almost the S&P hasn't quite taken off that news yet, but it's getting very, very close. Randomly, the Dow doesn't care. While the other ones move, I know that's the 4 hour, but the Dow is not caring as much as the S&P and the US 100. It's just kind of chilling. Here we go. Get back down. All that fake futures market getting taken off here and back down to the 3,600. Potentially. DJ tanking now. That was me, Colin. I did that. James says, I feel like Intel will do well if we have a crash later. The price is super low and PE ratio too. Yeah, so what will happen, James, is Intel will just kind of sit there and do nothing. So when you have a crash, let's say on a market, and you're trading a value stock, let's call it deep value stock, yeah? It won't move as much. So it'll kind of like float usually in that range, and it becomes like defensive almost because it's already so hideously undervalued. And then you'll see mostly things like the tech stocks and anything that's become incredibly overvalued, incredibly overextended, sell off the most. So we're sitting here at about 50 minutes towards the open, 12:39 a.m. in the Australian AM. I really dislike, unfortunately, this time of year for trading the American markets. Luckily, it's our summer because we have to wait till 1:30 a.m. just to see your bell open. What have we had the fortune of finding out over the last couple of months with the trading community? Well, some of the things that we've learned. Whenever we do a Monday stream, about an hour after the first hour of open, the market seems to sell off. We've also noticed that that's the standard retail trap, and I can tell you right now that most big traders don't usually trade in the morning. They don't trade in the first hour session. They actually trade at the end of the day. So remember, the close is always the key, and it will always be that. The close is the key. So a few people here writing articles saying, could the Fed act early? Yes, says this dude who maps the central bank's possible next move. So basically the problem the Fed has here is that Congress is not able to come to a conclusion. Now that's a mixture of crazy political stuff that's going on right now and just because they hate each other, yeah? And they're not doing necessarily the right thing for not only the stock market and consumer discretionary before Thanksgiving, before before Christmas, but we have also a massive impasse in how big it's going to be. So the Fed may have to get out there and start bazookaing random stuff due to all of the things that are technically bad when you look at the fundamental information. So expect that if stimulus continues to be really, really far off. Johnny says lots of options expiring on Friday. Yes, there is a lot of options expiring. So if we go to the put call ratios here and we see all the put call ratios coming in, notice there's a huge amount of puts. There's a really large amount of puts just in general. Total put call ratio historically has been like 0.4 and a 0.5 and those types of things, sitting at 0.81 right now. Some of all puts becoming pretty large. That's not necessarily the type of thing that you want to see if you want the market to pull back. We need this to decline a little bit and for people to probably be closing their puts today. And I would say this little random Moderna bit of news will probably be enough to get a lot of people in the retail community to close their puts at losses. Maybe they don't have the faith. They've got the weak hands, they close them at losses. So we may actually have a much smaller reading in our tomorrow video when we have a look at it. I think the put call ratio might actually be down quite significantly. Odux says, do you think the S&P and Dow are forming head now? I assume you mean head and shoulders. The problem with head and shoulders patterns in general is that people can see them anywhere. It's like any kind of TA stuff. What you want to do is you want to find 3 to 4 really key different reasons before you trade, if possible. And when you do that, then what ends up happening is you don't make as much mistakes. You don't see patterns that are like kind of random and things like that. I don't really see where head and shoulders would be here. The idea of a head and shoulders, remember, is this. We want to see, ideally, a smaller right shoulder than left shoulder. Why do we want that? Because this shows market intentions towards the direction when it breaks through the neckline. There is so many people wanting to short this right now, they couldn't even be bothered getting it back up to the left shoulder. They're like, no. I need to be in now. And they sell it. And when they sell it like this, it shows bearish intentions, very, very strong. Same for the opposite way. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder should always be smaller than left shoulder, as that shows bullish intentions. They can't wait for it to get back down here. Now, if you have a right shoulder that's deeper than the left shoulder, what is that telling us? Well, the bulls are not in control as much as we thought. You'd want that right shoulder to be showing wicks, massive engulfs, maybe news as well associated with that. When you see a pattern that's been forming over days, have a look at what popped it through. Nothing wrong with bringing fundamentals and technicals together. It's one of the most powerful things in the world to bring together, is both of them at the same time. Yeah, I don't like trend lines, Dr. Horton. You know that. Yes. Yeah, patterns are kind of like that. They're like trend lines in some ways. I think patterns are better because they show a formation of the psychology of the market over a longer period of time. We're talking before as well about Thanksgiving next week. Positive reactions generally into Thanksgiving is very, very common in the market. We got Australian $20 from Shane. Man, Shane, you're really donating hardcore tonight. Thank you very much. 682 watching, and there's not enough likes and support for Yoda Tom. Oh, thanks very much, Shane. Don't worry, plenty of people have been supporting a lot, so I do appreciate that. Here's the S&P 500 performance pre and post Thanksgiving from 1945 to 2016. These stats haven't meant that much this year, but remember, when we go back to a normal-ish market, normal-ish, I'll say normal-ish because we'll still be in massive QE for a while now, we will generally have these types of events occur time and time again. I find the only seasonal that seems to do anything is the Christmas rush. That's been the most consistent seasonal over my trading career since about 2008. But yeah, usually the entire week has mostly been positive in the lead up, and the next week has been not so great, but recently it's been a little bit better. And of course, rest of the year has been very positive because of the Christmas rush. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of other stocks. Now, I said to someone I would check out GP, I believe. I have no idea what this is. I probably should know. Well, that's very bullish movement. Very bullish breakout. No doubt news. This was a very clear break. Shame it moved so fast on this particular stock. There's a 4-hour here. I would prefer to see it, you know, if it gets through here. Notice that the pre-market's opening right at the resistance. 1375 resistance. 1375 resistance. So I probably expect some selling actually off this one early. But if it gets through, all that you do is you go basically, it goes up, maybe hits a 15, comes back. This level of resistance will become support. Pretty much as simple as that. I don't particularly love this trade as much because it's already had a massive move on it. You'd be looking at 50% basically at this point. But you know that when it goes, it goes. I don't know much about this. No worries, MC. Always appreciate helping out. A few people asking about the VIX. Yeah, the VIX is still really, really high relatively. It did get through the 25. I think this is, you know, considered crack of the 25. But anything above 20 is not normal. The VIX above 20 is considered anything can happen. The VIX below 20, normalized market. If you want to look at that when you go to a bigger time frame, look at the weekly here. Yes, there's spikes, you know, that happen regularly. But predominantly this thing sits underneath 20, and during really nice kind of like years of bullish, slow momentum, that kind of thing, you generally see the VIX kind of flatlining around this area. A VIX at like 10 is insanely low. Insanely low. Yeah, come on, gold. Get back above there. I would like to see a close around this zone, remember. So Dow now coming down 29,931. If we have a look at the other markets around the world in terms of the S&P, we'll look at the FTSE as well in just a moment. S&P's come back down to kind of the pre-Moderna news. And that's really because it's been pressured down here a lot more, I think, by the Nasdaq. Nasdaq, obviously, a lot of those stocks in the S&P. Quickly check out this FTSE UK 100. Had a few requests on that one. Fair enough. So UK 100 has been doing very, very well recently. Kind of going crazy, similar to all of the other indices around the world. This is a bad chart. Maybe this one. Oh, that's the Great British Pound. There we go. All right. So this to me is pretty clear cut that we're hitting a key resistance 65. Previous support, resistance, 20 moving average on the monthly, all very important. We then go down to the weekly. We know this is going to be a key zone of resistance that we're about to reach. A break of this resistance, I think, is incredibly significant for the bulls. If you're wondering, well, what the hell do I do now? Well, I think if you're not in the market right now in the FTSE, it's too tough. I mean, can you buy it here? Not really. Go straight to resistance. If you're looking for buy reload zones and pickups, you know, probably 6,000, 6,200 is more of a zone that you'd be watching. But right here is tough. So otherwise, you're looking for a break close above, retest from the top down, and then should find where the resistance and the support is, should be support again, and then buying pressure to move up again. And the clear next level is right around here. Let's just quickly zone that up. About 7,000 to 7,100. Clear level up there. Mario says, hey Tom, thoughts on TDOC? I can see big channel broken. Alright, I like channels. Let's have a look at TDOC. Yeah, it's fair to say that it closed underneath this zone. And that was most likely some kind of channel. Let's go to the weekly again. Okay, so the bull side, there was body closes out. Daily, obviously, that means there's body closes out. Yeah, you would say, look, it's definitely been trading in a range, this one. Certainly has been in a range. I think it's fair. Fair to think that it should short now that it's come back up. Yeah, your analysis is sound. I would want to look quickly into the company, understand what the hell it's doing. Why has it been selling off? 2050 cross has happened. The range that you're going for then on the short sell, which is always hard. Remember, selling stock is so much harder than buying it, guys. So much harder. You need to be like a Yoda. You need to be insane. You'd be baby Yoda to be that good. So probably 150 is the target because previous support's here. Plus it's a psychological. Your target technically is down here maybe, but 150. Not bad. Good analysis. Well done, man. DraftKings. The hyperactive stock itself, DraftKings. Probably suffering a little bit because of the news of the vaccines. Oh, sorry, guys. Fading here. And I think that's because really it should be suffering to a degree. It's definitely a game changer and disruptor. I don't know. One thing I want to ask American audience out there, how hard is it going to be, or are we going to see like sports gambling become a thing that, you know, other companies get involved in? Are we going to see online sports gambling coming out? I'm not sure. DraftKings hit the resistance anyway. 45, clearly resistance here, resistance again. That was the zone. Probably sell back down to like maybe even a 35 here. and then buy back off. DraftKings, but does it have a moat? I don't know what the hell the moat is on this, Dr. Horton. That's exactly what I'm getting at, though. You know, everyone knows what DraftKings is, even I do. But again, if you get it approved, it's going to become maybe more mainstream. Maybe the Win, maybe MGM. Everyone gets an online platform. In Australia, you know, there's so much sports gambling. There's so many companies. And they go, you know, Sportsbet, probably.com.au is the most popular one. But there's so many that come in and then fail and then come in and do well. Nick says states are slowly legalizing sports betting here. So it's a state-by-state thing. TK says as more states legalize it, more casinos will open online mobile sports betting. Agree, TK. And therefore it is more of a buy for, I think, the casinos. And I think that's a risk to this type of thing. MGM does MGM bet. Better be a really good piece of software. All right, Ali, we probably can't have that, man. 1 second. Sorry, bro. We had a look at Baba before. Let me go up here. I had some other questions. Yes, PayPal and Apple. Okay, let's go to PayPal and Apple. So we've got AAPL, Nasdaq here, 118.68. We've continued to have a 120 resistance. Look for that. Target it for the resistance bull side. Why do I say target it? Because when it gets through, it's probably going to come back down, retest it, give you a day trading opportunity to trade it back into 124. There is dollars in that kind of move. So 120 is going to be a targeted kind of zone. Notice it got through slightly over here. So that means you want to go back down, have a look at how it did so. So it gapped up and then sold back. All right, well, that's why. So you want to see a body. That the gap up doesn't really worry me too much. I want to see a nice bullish candle above here. 1863, 118.63 though is not anything special. There's been buying at 115, selling at 120. Most of Apple's being traded, well, there's a huge amount of retail community in Apple still. So every $5 matters on the TA charts. It's that simple. Look at $5 ranges. There we go, got rid of it. Well, I kind of want to look at MGM. I know it's been going nuts recently. Where is this compared to its previous peaks? Oh my god. Wow. Look what happened during the GFC. Ooh. No, that was bad. You would think it wouldn't either. That's terrible. All right, so crisis period got down to $6. I remember that. Then it's gone up. It's been one of the better kind of purchases from the low down. Nice movement up here, 4.25%. So it's probably overextended right now, but I'd be targeting 24. That's a great zone, isn't it? No wonder it bought off there straight away. Gapped up, came down, tested it, bang. That's a sick area. I'll set that. Cool. All right, it's good zone there, like the 24. Where to now? Well, 28 or 27, probably 28 area is going to be a 200 simple moving average. 2050 cross coming in, be even more beautiful if it kind of pulled back here. We had the 50 coming up as well, and the 20, and then acting as dynamic support when it came back down to this zone. But yeah, this 24 is particularly good for the MGM. XOM, a few people want to look at that. Check out XOM. Energy sector certainly doing much better over the last couple of weeks. It's trading at 37.56 pre-market, up 4.1. Good for energy holders. Go down to the daily here. Cool area that it bought off, little engulf. That's cool. pretty much looking at a 30. You want to see a 38 break now. 38 break and close. So what we'd like to have now, 38 break and close, quick pull back into 38. Resistances should act as support, and then target 40. And then pretty much every $2 should be relatively good for XOM. To kind of start to see, we're through the 50 and through the 20 here on the daily now. That's a big step to the bull side. That's all now dynamic support that it has to get through. So look for smaller time frames as well. And if we start to see maybe pullbacks to certain moving averages, we've got 20-50 cross here on the 4 hour. What about the 1 hour? Has it been interacting with the zones? Maybe we have a 2 hour moving average where it hits a 20 or something like that and continues to buy off it. Look for that for XOM. All right, there's a lot of other questions coming in here. Can we look at Shopify? Yes, we will do that. And then we'll have a quick market recheck. We're at 1 a.m. my time, obviously half an hour until the market opens here. Thank you very much for the 680 people who have been joining us. Done a bit of a mixed smorgasbord, I guess, of stocks across the world today. And it's been good. It's been good doing through those. So here we've got an 898. So it's basically back down right around where the support is. Very important level for Shopify to hold. It's actually, you know, there's a common occurrence here. All of these stocks that have been the flavors of the last couple of months are right on supports where they have to hold. And if they don't hold, it's the next area they go. You know, what's going to happen with Shopify? Well, if it can't hold this kind of 900 zone, 800 becomes a very key, beautiful area for it because 200 simple moving average, a little bit of market structure, psychological, etc. And then underneath that, pretty much every $100 is going to be key for Shopify. 700, 600, 800. But where it is right now is fine. Smaller time frames, if you see like a little tick up here, it's going to be a little double bottom, intervening peak. If it gets through there, very bullish sign for Shopify. You know what, guys? I don't want to do this. I know it's a Monday. I know we've got 650 people joining us and viewing, but I am absolutely wrecked today. I've got to say, you're probably hearing in my voice, so there's just no point for me to go on. So we'll do the quick market structure, quick market overview, but I'll have to leave you for the opening fun. Remember, first hour has traditionally been very trappy on the first hour of Monday. Don't pay too much attention to what happened in the futures. Pay attention to what happens during the normal volume. We're at big pullback here on gold. All of that Moderna news, really what that's doing is it's still putting pressure on tech because that is a fundamental concern for the market. We're seeing that through Shopify. We're seeing that through AMD. So many of these stocks are pulling back to key supports, DocuSign, etc. The Dow Jones doesn't care. It's having a great time with Boeing and Caterpillar doing so well, and the S&P is really holding the same areas. Let's have a quick look at the S&P. We'll bring that up. So S&P had a little double bottom here on the normal time frames. I would say that's always a super bullish kind of sign when you get a pullback and then you get a little double bottom. That being said, it's almost completed it in the futures trading session. If you actually took that range, let's just take that range right now. Extrapolate that out. Oh, don't be bad extrapolating that out. See, it's already completed it. I saw this and I wanted to put it in the weekly analysis, but it happens so much in the futures. Look at futures just going crazy here. But yeah, that's pretty much completed. It's hit the resistance just like last Monday. Opened strong. Actually, it didn't even open there. It was futures selling off and then just kept selling throughout the day. So we'll be doing a video tomorrow really covering this, but I need to make sure I can even do that video. So yeah. I'm baked. I'm definitely completely stonked today, unfortunately, guys. But we made it to 1 a.m. Thank you very much. Been going since 11 so far. Appreciate the donations. Appreciate the likes, the subscribes we put on. How many subscribers we get? We get so many subscribers. Wow. Whoa. It was got 100 subscribers. That's mad. Awesome. Thanks very much, guys. So we've got 100 subscribers during this stream. That's awesome for the support. And we'll be coming at you with a whole bunch of new learning activities. I do want to improve even more on the stream. So please send through to support. Actually, send it to Thomas, THOMAS, at fxevolution.com. If you've got an idea for the stream or you're seeing a free piece of software you want to share with the community or something, let me know. I'll share it out there. I love doing that kind of stuff. And if it has to be ideally free, because I like to share free things. Otherwise, I just tell you to buy a Bloomberg terminal, but it costs you $3,000 a month. And yeah, Thomas at fxevolution.com. We'll have to see what happens with these markets. I'm not too sure right now, but usually it's been a bit of a sell-off kind of frenzy, usually on Mondays. I wouldn't be surprised to see a slightly negative week this week in terms of overall action, and then next week, the positive week, but time will tell. We'll have to look at the price action. Remember, price action tells you what's going on, not your opinions. Leave them at the door whenever possible.